Welcome to this week's Transformers Prime Retro Reviews. I am Amy.
I am Nicole.
Hello! And today we are continuing a retro review of Transformers Prime, a fangirl's perspective.
hmm
The show broadcasted for the first time a little over 2 years ago, November 2010, right after Thanksgiving Day weekend in the USA on the Hub, Hasbro's very own channel. The production is owned and created by Hasbro. The first episode was broken up into five 22-minute parts. Today we will be reviewing part 4 of Darkness Rising. Wah! Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Season 1 is available from Shout Factory or Amazon and iTunes as well, which we've
season two,
previously talked
season
about.
two's out too now.
It is? Okay, cool. I haven't checked to
Yep,
see.
yep,
I went to check to see if you could find it on iTunes, and I did. So I was like, oh,
yep.
cool. Awesome. All right. Well, there you go. Season 2 is now available. All right. So we've previously talked about where you can get these seasons and whatnot. So please check out our other previous reviews right here on RFC or on YouTube at TF Radio Network channel. And then stay tuned for more Transformers news on tformers.com. We'll get more information
Ye-
about Beast Hunters soon, so I'm sure there'll be something up. So that being said, let's get into the guts of part 4.
The guts. How
Yeah,
about the
well,
regenerated guts?
that's kind of why I said let's put guts in there because hey, man, some stuff happens in this episode. Yeah.
The
Okay.
regeneration of cogs and
Yeah.
circuits. And
It's zombies, robot zombies.
Yay!
Yay! Okay, so we left off with the rise of a whole lot of zombie robots. So that is where we return. As a horrified Ratchet and Optimus Prime look on, not even the dead are free from his warmongering. And
hmm
as Megatron observes that symbiosis has occurred because he controls the zombie horde, he commands the dead army to destroy them. So they start shooting
You
it
don't
out.
have your Megatron voice this week.
I know, I don't have it. It's not as awesome. I just have to kind of and destroy them. Oh, goodness. So they start shooting it out, and Ratchet points out that they are already dead. So how can we stop them? Oh, no.
How can you kill something that's already dead?
Yeah,
Good
yeah.
question, Ratchet. Good
That is a
question.
good question, yeah. Prime orders Ratchet back to the base because, hey, I'll take care of this. He's like, no, he won't leave Optimus alone to fight the Horde. So, besides, he might need a medic at the end of this. And I was like, oh, dang, Ratchet. It's like, who's going to need the medic, him or you?
Exactly. He's gonna need the help here.
Yeah. So they find out pretty quick that they can, in fact, stop the zombie horde if they cut the parts off because they cut off one part and it stops. Anyhow,
One of
so
the best lines here was, "I recommend dissection."
dissection, yeah, to the smallest pieces possible, right?
And if you've known anything about Jeffrey Combs' previous roles in other things, it's very fitting that he
Yes,
does this.
very, very fitting.
So,
Oh my gosh, yeah. So they start hacking them to bits. And
no,
Megatron
no.
tells Prime at that point, when he falls, he'll join the army of the undead. Ooh. So, this is where I wanted to pause because I thought, wow, that's really dark, yo. It's
Yeah,
really dark. Is
it
this
is.
is this too dark for kids? I mean, wow, this gets intense.
Yeah, that's for sure. It was just like, okay, this is some serious stuff here. I know like kids probably know what zombies are, but do they really know the consequences of it?
Yeah. Well, and not only that is that they're taking out, swords and they're cutting and hacking pieces off. It's like,
Oh,
oh my gosh.
I mean, at one point you see Prime like uppercut a guy, and his head is on his sword, and you're just like,
Yeah.
oh God,
I mean, yeah, they are robots, but at the same time, it's like
there's
they're
still sentient beings.
disemboweling these. They
Yeah,
are disemboweling these. So, it's
yeah.
intense.
You got it's really creepy if you think these previous bots were their comrades in the battles before.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I don't know. I thought, okay, for me, I'm fine, but like, there were a couple times where my 5-year-old was like, "I'm scared, mommy," and I'm like, "It's okay,
Yeah.
sweetheart. They're gonna stop him. It's Optimus Prime.
Yeah.
He's the hero of the show." So,
See, and I think that's one thing that's good. If when younger kids are watching this, they know who Optimus Prime is. They know who he's the hero, and he's going to do what's right.
yeah,
And they know that Megatron's the bad guy. He's just going to do something that's a big no-no.
yeah, exactly.
So,
Yeah. So while Prime and Ratchet are cutting the zombie bots to bits, we flip back to Bulkhead and the kids to see how they are faring, which isn't the best, but no one's dead yet, whereas the other one, people are dying left and right. Well, the zombies are dying left and right, so. And he's protecting the kids fairly well. What are you doing here? Yeah, about that. Kids, they are trouble. I know, I have two of them myself. And as he says later to RC, you try to get them to stay behind. It's like,
and,
yeah, I know how that feeling is. Please stay here. They'd never listen when you say that. Just heads up, Bulkhead. Um, so Bulk decides that the best place for the kids to hide is behind a huge rock while he takes on the Nemesis and the Viacons himself. Because behind this huge rock, kids can't be seen, and it's pretty adequate cover as the shots are being fired off. He tells them, everyone out, and please wait here. And then he takes off.
I love that in his voice because you could tell he is so desperate.
Yeah,
Just stay
just
still.
stay here. But here's the thing, and this happens throughout this episode. When they say stay here, it seems like it's an okay place and safe, but every single time that they
Uh,
do that, it ends up being safe for maybe a few minutes, and then something else happens, and the kids are like,
exactly.
ah. So as we continue on, that's what happens. So he takes off and he handles the Viacon issue. He climbs up the cliff wall and jumps on the Nemesis to take out the rest of them. And when he turns back to see if the kids are still down below, he sees two faces and he finds that Miko has once again stowed away and puked all over his floor mats.
Oh, Miko.
I loved this part. It was like, I think I threw up on your floor mats. Sorry. I was like, oh, Miko.
Once again.
Yeah, it was just, oh, yeah, Miko. It was still comical, but yeah.
I
Go
got a
ahead.
question. So if she pukes on his floor mats, is that still considered his outsides or his insides? And how does one clean that up?
Yeah, how do you clean that up? It was like, oh, great, look what that organic person did. Put all this organic crap all over me. Oh, it smells.
Oh,
And not only that, as we continue on, and he's carrying her, and she's like, I'm gonna throw up. Blah. I was like, girl, you need to have medication for that, the
that
motion
is
sickness.
Bulkhead will be the best boyfriend she ever has.
Can you imagine her going out and dating after him?
Oh, I know.
Or,
It's
or, or
it's
better,
yeah.
or better yet, you have to get past Bulkhead to date Miko.
Exactly. There you
Oh my gosh.
go.
Wow. Okay, so while Fred and George Viacon attack Bulkhead once more, um, Miko is seemingly in danger once again, but Bulk goes all Papa Bear and beats the tar out of every one of them who pop up. Once again, to take, him on. They're trying to take him on, and, with Miko there, it's just like, notice that one part where it gets really, really fast, and he's like really doing a lot and shooting, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's Papa Bear right there.
Papa Bear, I like that. I like
And
that.
yeah, because it was like that. It's like, hey, man, you're not going to endanger my, human here. I'm going to get in your face about it. Not only that, but he also plays frisbee with a piece of the ship. So,
Yeah.
you know. And then he gets inside the ship. Meanwhile, outside and down below, Leroy Viacon takes Raph and Jack prisoner.
Leroy,
Yes,
I like
I'm
it.
starting to give all the Viacons different names because, hey, they're
You
they all look the same.
you're gonna start running out of names.
Yeah, I know, but I might just
Le-
recycle names because they all look the same. Because I thought, Leroy, somehow I'll be able to work the Leroy Jenkins in there, right? Somebody's bound to go Leroy Jenkins, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh, anyhow, the next scene, Bulkhead is within the Nemesis and takes on various attacks while sliding Miko as a distraction and then taking out Viacons left and right.
Can I tell you, this is like one of my favorite scenes. The angles that they used when she's sliding across the floor, and it's kind of like you're looking at it through her eyes, and you can see the Vicon's legs, and you get the sense you're her for a moment. You're like,
Yeah.
oh wow, this is serious.
Well, either that or else I keep thinking every single time I see this is, you know what? Is she getting any rug burn or some sort of burn on her
Exactly.
backside as she's getting slid that
She's
way?
got some really good tights. She's got some
She
really good tights.
must. She must. That floor must be so slick. I mean, hey, Starscream makes them scrub it or polish it
Yeah,
until he can see his face in it, okay?
I wouldn't be surprised to tell you the truth.
I don't know, you know? I don't know. I would hate to be the Viacons on that ship because, hey, that's a pretty, that's a stiff ship to have to keep up with, you know? Oh, goodness. Okay, meanwhile, Jack and Raph are rescued by RC and Bumblebee. Um, and she's like, storming the Decepticon warship was not on the activities list. As we were talking about activities last episode, so I thought, oh,
Mhm.
that's cool. I like that. Continuity and dialogue. There you go.
Exactly.
Uh, and once they catch up with Bulkhead, the plan is to find Fowler and get the kids off the ship. And since Jack and Raph overheard the Viacons, they know Fowler's in the brig, and so they let them know that. So we flip to the brig, and Starscream has about broken Fowler with torture. And
Oh my God, that's
Starscream knows it. He's like, okay, tell me what I want to know. So as Fowler is about to reveal where the auto base is, he overhears the gunfire in the hall, and so Fowler's like, he wises up, and Starscream shocks him out. Ah, oh my gosh! It gets immediate. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so dark. And while they go to find out, while that happens, then he tells them to go find out what's going on. So it's a whole lot of fighting and shooting and confusing and mayhem for the kids who are just trying to stay out of the way. And I really liked this point of view where they were showing how all of this crazy stuff is going on around them. Like the sound, instead of actually hearing every shoot and all that, they kind of let the background music kind of come in,
uh,
and things
oh, I
kind of
loved
look
it.
a little like they're zoning and stuff like that. And it was, I liked that because it really showed how confusing it might be for the kids who are like, ah, all this stuff is happening over top of
Yeah,
our heads. And
I
it
gotta
was
admit
good. I liked
that
that.
that sound effect was awesome.
Yeah.
That sound of that's really it was really
Yeah.
cool.
I mean, I don't, I've never been in a situation where there've been like a bomb or anything going off, but I've heard people, I've heard how, when it goes off, it's so loud that it
It's
like
deafening. Yeah.
deafening, and it had that sense to it. So I really
Mhm,
liked how they did that in the show where it
mhm,
had that kind of feel to it. So
mhm.
it was really, really good. I liked that. That's when we flip to Prime and Ratchet, as they are still fighting zombies, and they are not doing too well as their strength is being
Oh.
sapped by the presence of the Dark Energon for one, and the fact that they're fighting all these guys and they're just keep coming and coming.
Mhm.
And the zombies are about to bury them, and they're like, ah, and you're like going, no, no, don't do that. And just when it seems like they are lost and the zombies are gonna eat them, or not eat them, but you know what I mean. And
Yeah.
Megatron is happy because he's like, yeah. Prime
I'm getting
puts
what I want. Yay.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, yes, they're gonna die. Um, Prime puts a surge of newfound strength, and he knocks the zombie bots away and helps Radget free. And Megatron just eggs on the zombies and says, "Finish them!" Meanwhile, RC and Bumblebee and Bulkhead, they find another place supposedly that's safe for the kids by clearing out a room and then leave them there for the time being while they go off to get Fowler. And Jack and Miko end up having this argument about their safety there. The fighting starts to affect Raph, as he's the younger kid. But then they quickly get distracted by what's on the computer screen above them because it looks important. But before they can get a copy of what they are seeing, Leroy Viacon shows up and discovers them in the room. Oops. So now you
Oh
were talking
no.
about you liked this part here because of how the
Yeah,
fighting affected Raph.
yeah, okay, because Miko and Jack are fighting, and you could just see the pain on Raph's face. Like, I wanted to get away from this for my family, and yet you guys are fighting. You could tell this kid is around people that argue a lot, and he just wants to get away with it,
Yeah.
away from it all. I think that's why in the first episode we see him playing by himself, because he just wants to have that peace of mind, that everything's going to be okay. I just need to get away from the yelling, and but yet he can't get away from it here,
Yeah.
and I think that it had a real effect on the other two kids because they realized, oh yeah, this can't be good. We need to work as a team,
Yeah.
and that's when it came to play. Okay, we got to get this done. Jack doesn't like it. He doesn't want to be any part of this anymore. He just wants to get out and go home and just say adios to this life, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I really that really pulled at my heartstrings right there with Raph. So you're just like, oh,
Well,
poor kid.
and it seemed like to me because it's very age appropriate too because he would be a little bit
Hmm.
more sensitive to that.
Hmm.
He's not Jack, where Jack seems like he's in his teen years and Miko is the fiery, stubborn girl.
Uh,
That's not Raph. He's a little bit more, he's younger. It seems to affect him a
mm,
little bit more. And so I liked that because it was the consequence of the other two being that way. But then at the same time, it showed that not all kids are the same like that. He's a little bit more
hmm.
sensitive to that, which, some kids are. So
Yep,
it just seemed
exactly.
good to me. Yeah. Meanwhile, the Butts, they rescue Fowler, only to get into a Mexican standoff with Starscream. As he's surrounded, it's a little bit of a problem. Um, but when
See this
Fowler, oh,
again. This is one of the best lines, probably of the series, because RC has him
yeah,
cornered, and of course, has a gun towards Starscream. Starscream is pointing towards Fowler, and RC's like, "I wouldn't," and he's like, "Oh, I
I,
might," and you're just like, that just little line just shows you how creepy Starscream is, and you don't know what card this guy's gonna play.
yeah,
Starscream is the best poker player
he
because you're just like,
is.
I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what hand he is holding right now.
Yeah. But then on the same hand, you also have again, we have another scene where RC she's good at her job. I mean, every
Oh,
once
for
in a while you're
sure.
like, okay, where's RC? And then she's pointing down at him. So she
Uh-huh.
had to crawl up somewhere because she's the smaller one anyhow. And
Uh-huh.
she's like, so she's coming at it from an angle. She always does this, comes at it from an angle that nobody else does because
Uh-huh.
she's the smaller one. And she just seems like she's the one that's just thinking about all of that a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more. So she's a little bit more of a gung ho in that aspect.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we find that several times throughout throughout the season and into the second season too,
Mm-hmm.
where she makes these decisions and she's a little bit of a hothead in a sense.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for
So,
sure. This is why I love this RC.
oh yeah,
She's an in charge gal. So.
definitely, definitely. So when Fowler wakes and distracts Screamer, they start shooting it out, but Starscream still manages to escape. And then we flip back to the kids, where Jax saves Raph before he gets shot,
Hmm.
and then quickly tells Miko to take a picture. And so she takes a picture of Leroy distracting the Viacon with
I
the
thought that was so
flash.
cute.
But then he's like, not that one, the other one. So she redirects to the screen and she takes a picture of that one
Oh.
too. And then the kids run and they get away just in time for the bots to return and save them. So at that point, they get off the Nemesis. And I was like, yay! Nobody
Hey.
died!
Well, well,
Oh, the
there's a few
Viacons did, yeah.
icons.
you know, Fred, George, Leroy, who knows?
The stormtroopers of the series.
The red
Who,
shirts, the red
yeah,
shirts, yeah.
exact. And these Viacons shoot just as well as stormtroopers. Let me tell you.
Who's been training these guys, right?
I know.
So back to Prime and Ratchet. They finish off the bots of the undead, and Prime faces down Megatron. Bravo! You may want to save your strength for the main event. And then he simply flies away, easily escaping from Prime. And then Ratchet says, if this wasn't Megatron's endgame, then what is?
Hmm.
Oh yeah. Now in this era, at this point, Prime gets a little dark too.
I
As
know.
he's climbing up that wall to get at Megatron, who's just kind of mocking down from,
Mhm.
the cliffside, it was like, wow, okay,
He's out for a
it just,
Megatron spark right here.
yes. And I was like, okay, that whole aspect. I remember a couple people saying, this is give me your face Prime, and I was
Yeah,
like,
it's Murderous
my
Prime.
gosh. It's like, well, he just did get finished, fighting a zombie horde. He's just ready for a battle here,
Yep,
right? Oh.
exactly, exactly.
And this technically is the first time the Autobots have seen that Megatron is back.
Oh yeah, that's true, huh?
Because
Yeah.
for us, we saw it at the very beginning of the first
Hmm.
episode. But this is the first time that Ratchet and Prime, and I forgot to bring that up last episode, is that this is the first time that they have seen Megatron. So, yeah, if Prime actually reaches for him as he transforms and flies away, and then he's shooting at him after that. But it was just kind of like, oh, that's right. This is the first time he's seen him in a while. So yeah, of course he's gonna be a little aggressive to try to get him. Hey, if we could end the conflict now, would be great. So anyhow,
Exactly.
so after we go to commercial, we are back at the auto base to share notes. Everybody shares notes what they've been doing, and Miko is bummed that she missed the zombie robots because
Uh, I gotta agree with Miko. That would be kind of a cool sight.
oh yeah, oh yeah,
Robots and zombies together at one. Hello.
yeah. Prime gives Bulkhead a little bit of a hard time about his judgment with the kids, but Miko jumps in with it. It wasn't his fault, and we did something useful, and shows them the photo that she took on her phone. And this leads to the conversation to the dangerousness of this situation, especially since when hearing Megatron is back, Jack just reacts, and he's not very happy about that,
Yep.
as he's up to this point been the responsible one of the three of the kids, trying to look out for Raph. He's been the one keeping them together throughout the fighting and ducking while the fighting is going on around them. And he's like, if this is an average day with the Autobots, then I don't want to be a part of
Don't
it,
have.
not anymore. So, yeah, it's like, oh no.
Yeah, you're just like, wow. Yeah, I when I first saw this, I did not see that coming. I'm
No,
just like, really? This is the first time you didn't see like one of the kids in all the other previous series or even in the comic books where the kids aren't, oh, I can't wait to go play again. This is like the first time I can remember we're like, no, I don't want anything to do with this.
yeah,
I can't do this. And you're just like, wow, that was a turn of events right there.
I
So,
liked that because
mhm,
because I can't tell you how many times I've heard a couple fans that have said, you know, kids are always in danger. How in the world are they able to do this? Why, So
mhm,
to have a kid actually at the very beginning go, yeah, this is dangerous, and I'm not so sure I want to be a part of this because this is
mhm.
too much. I
Yeah.
really liked that. So, I mean, especially since they have really illustrated that in this episode, if not other ones as well.
Mhm.
This is dangerous. All of these guys are twice as big as they are, and a lot of the stuff going on, they're not there to shoot guns. They're squishy.
They're just trying to just not get stepped on,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's that too. Or things get shot and they fall over,
Mhm.
and try not to get
Yeah,
fell upon. So
they
yeah,
don't regenerate as easy as the robots.
yeah, yeah. They go squish.
Yep.
Yeah. So Prime steps in at this point and he says, putting you in harm's way was never their intent. But everyone is at risk now, and they will respect whatever decision he makes. And Ratchet opens up ground bridge to his house. He's like, no point in long goodbyes. Here's the door.
Ratchet, I'd say I love Ratchet.
Yeah.
He just kooky old fart.
Yeah. So Jack leaves, leaving the other two kids. And while he casually says to RC, I know, you don't exist. And she's like, don't make me hunt you down. I liked that, the little banter between the two of
Mm.
them. It was great. Meanwhile, Megatron gives the smackdown to Starscream for not listening and causing the bots to confront them on their ship, and damage has now delayed his plans. And Starscream swears he knows a way to get things back on track, so Megatron tells him to explain or he's gonna kill him. But then we
And how
flip.
many times has Megatron used that threat against Starscream?
I know, but he really does want to be back on track, so he'll give him a chance to explain, but we don't hear that part. We flip back to Jack at home, and Miko shows up to try and convince him to return, but she's unable to, and she leaves. Meanwhile, Ratchet figures out the photo that the kids took. It's the schematics for
Hmm.
Space Bridge, the main event that Megatron was probably referring to. Oh no!
Yeah.
He can open a portal to Cybertron and resurrect a planet sized zombie horde. What? Oh
That that Megatron, he's very cunning,
no!
you know?
Yeah, yeah. Wow. So,
Hmm.
the last point that I had that I wanted to hit on before we wrap this up, safety of the kids. Does Jack have a point?
Oh, for sure. I mean, like I said, this is the first time where it got real. It got real for the humans in the storyline. You're just like, okay. And I think that's what makes Prime work because this show has consequences. If something, I mean, later on when when if one of the Autobots gets hurt, it takes a couple episodes, 2 or 3 episodes, for them to heal. There's another episode involving little creatures that devour them. You know, that goes on for a couple episodes, and that's what I like about it. Continuity is a great thing here too. So,
Yeah.
oh yeah, for sure.
Well, and that's kind of been a discussion point about the safety of the kids because at least at this point, because it's being brought up because Jack's decision to kind of this is too much. I'm gonna stay leery of this because of that. But safety ends up being a big thing because toward the end of second season, these guys have gotten to the point where safety is a big thing for them as well. So it just becomes I just wanted to bring it up because I thought, hey, here we are watching it from the get-go. We've seen season 1 and season 2. We know what's going to happen. And it's good to see how they're building it up now because that does have consequences in the future as well, which
Hmm.
for those that haven't seen it, we're not going to spoil that yet, but it's something I wanted to bring up because safety is something that's addressed quite a bit in the show, whether it be here or future episodes where Miko makes a couple choices that puts her in danger. I mean, safety is something that ends up being something it's a theme that ends up getting hit on off and on throughout both of the
Hmm.
the two seasons. So I thought it was important at this point to point out that that's what's going on. So
For sure.
yeah,
Hmm.
awesome. All right, well that's us. Just to plug it in there quickly, where can people follow you online, Nick?
Follow me on Twitter at Beatles Diva. Like the band, not the bug.
Yep.
Just follow me on Twitter. That's probably about the easiest thing. So,
Yeah. And that's me too. My Twitter is Lady of Rec. And we'll see you next review.
aloha.
Ciao!